All right, everybody. Hey, welcome to Crossing the Streams, everybody.
Hello.
That's right. This is episode 33 of Crossing the Streams. Can you believe it? We've made it 33 episodes. We are number 32 in Hungary, 42 in Japan. It's 16 in India, and 15 in another country, which asked not to be disclosed because for other reasons. Diplomacy, right. So it's very exciting. We're here. We've got a return guest. John Sullivan is with us.
Hello.
Hello.
How is everyone? Thank you, guys. I appreciate the applause. Very nice.
Yes. And just to kick things off, John's going to do the opening of the theme song.
Go. Here's the story of some lonely fellows who spend way too much time watching the TV. All of them have jobs and friends and family. Well, not really. Just between you and me.
Howard.
They made a live show out of their hobby. Every TV watcher's TV watching dream. Jeff and Ron and Sel and Bob, and there's Howard. They called it Crossing Streams.
Bob.
And then one day they went live on all the platforms. You could hear the people laugh and shout and scream. Still can't find another word that rhymes with platform. But man, they crossed the streams.
We cross the streams. We cross the streams. That's the way we do it. Here we cross the streams. That was amazing. That might have been our best one yet. That might have been a good job. Led by John. Jerry says hello, everybody. Hello, Jerry. Hello, everyone. Jerry. Hello, world. The world is gathered for Crossing the Streams, the #1 premiere show on the internet that gives you amazing shows that you should stream, movies that you should stream, and all the channels that you've been tricked into buying. And sometimes we even tell you stuff that you should avoid, which I think is just as important and just as valuable, if not more. We got the crew here today. Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hey, Jeff.
Hello. And we do have John Sullivan. He's back. You recognizing the man with the shades?
John.
Hey, yeah. John is back. John,
I paid a photographer a lot of money for that shot right there.
Well, it was definitely worth every cent. John, tell everyone about you.
So I have been on the show before. I was on a month ago. The reason I'm on and kind of why people know me is I am the guy behind Depressed Darth on Twitter and also Instagram. But more importantly, I got my start on Twitter as Depressed Darth. It's kind of a comedy parody page. It's been going on since 2010. So here we are. By the way. Thank you. So happy to be here. What I'm talking about is not really Star Wars related, but maybe because I think everything is related to Star Wars. So I'm hoping to have some fun tonight. Thank you.
So just as a reminder, John and I met. We were both recruited by Gillette. I'm going back probably 5 years. And
it was Rogue One. So
it was Rogue One. That was a time Gillette flew us to London, Pinewood Studios, where we went to an event at Pinewood Studios for the launch of Rogue One. We got to tour London and all this kind of stuff. So we hung out. John was dressed as Darth Vader most of the time, at least half of Darth Vader. And it was a hoot. It was during that 2-week period of time I was an influencer.
You're both very clean shaven too, so that's pretty good.
Well, they had they had expert people there, and they taught how to where to shave and all that kind of stuff.
Now, Jeff, I have a question. I have a question for you. Do you still have stuff from them that you use?
Oh yeah, because I so rarely shave. For 5 years, I have the same razors and shaving cream that they gave me.
I have Gillette shaving cream in there that I'm using, and I have a razor in there that I've busted out of some box that still has the Rogue One stuff on it. It's like
they gave us some cool stuff. I have some special Rogue One razors where the razors are representative of some of the characters, and I have this really cool Rogue One lunchbox they gave us. I'll have to get pictures for everyone. And a Rogue One like ditty bag, like you put your toiletries in. We got
I have that. I still use it.
They
Yes.
I've never been treated so great. Like
I know.
It was a Thursday, and they're like, "Can you be in London on Tuesday?" I'm like, "Okay."
I use Barbasol, $1.29.
Yeah, well, it's just funny. It's like
and Electra shave afterwards.
So we got a lot to talk about this episode. This is fun. So you've come to the right place. If you're looking for ideas of things you want to watch on TV, you got so much TV to watch, and everyone's always asking, even to this day, "Hey, I don't know what to watch. Do you know anything good?" And I say, "Hey, lucky for you, I've been for 33 weeks with my friends doing a show on the internet that you've been avoiding, but now avoid it no more, Crossing the Stream." So last week, you can catch up on episode 32. We did a Tim Robinson double feature, I Think You Should Leave, which is now in season 2 on Netflix. And Howard also talked about Detroiters, which was an amazing show, originally on Comedy Central. Our guest talked about My Octopus Teacher. I embarrassingly then went into how I had just eaten some. And then we talked about Generation War and Black Widow, which is both streaming per pay and for you can go to the theater. And people were going to the theater. And by the way, I believe it had one of the biggest drop-offs in the history of movies, from going from one of the biggest.
I read that.
But then also what we got today, episode 33, we're going to talk about The White Lotus, A Glitch in the Matrix, Unsolved Mysteries, a very specific episode, and Kevin Hart's Fatherhood. Zach is not with us today. He has some prior engagements. Ron was called away at the last minute. Otherwise, he'd be here as well. But we still have a jam-packed episode. I'm still unpacking Loki. I rewatched Loki with my wife. She started watching it because we were all talking about it. And so I've rewatched the whole thing. And then I saw this thing. I don't know if you guys saw this on the internet, where they synced up the end of Loki to the end of WandaVision. Where the point of the threshold where he who remains no longer knows what's happening was the exact moment that Wanda became the Scarlet Witch.
Correct.
And that was I don't understand how people figure this out. How did people figure this out?
No way, what, Howard?
It's the same guy figured it out. Who figured it out is the same guy who figured out that if you start the dark side of the moon at the beginning of Wizard of Oz, it syncs up.
That does, though. I've done that before.
It does.
I've done it too.
It especially syncs up if you're high as a kite. But I mean,
I've done that too.
I gotta believe it's not accidental. That's way too coincidental. Now, whether it means anything or not, or if it's, I mean, I think
it would mean that Wanda created the multiverse
when she became the Scarlet Witch, right? Which is a possibility, or that was the big threshold. But it's interesting. He, the guy who plays He Who Remains, which will eventually become King the Conqueror in the movies. That was just an unbelievably good performance and introduction to the MCU. But he was great.
The interesting thing about that character is that it's not the same one that will be in like Ant-Man. It's like the whole concept of variance now, and the concept of different.
Well, and he told you that was the case.
I'm saying way worse. Was brilliant about it. They could introduce him and then
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go, Bob. I want to hear it from you.
Oh, I was just going to say that whole scene with He Who Remains, who's going to be Kang the Conqueror, reminded me a lot of the architect in The Matrix. This long, detailed monologue that explained a lot, and then also confused you at the same time, but in the end brought sort of a whole new understanding to the proceedings.
I was very excited by the Black Widow movie, and we talked about it last week. It was good. It wasn't great. It was a good James Bond movie, is kind of the way we described it. I am overwhelmingly excited for the next Spider-Man movie, because I really think that will be the next movie that really launches the next wave of the MCU to the extremes of what it looks like it's going. That movie and the Doctor Strange movie look like that's going to be the case. I mean, I read again today that they've said what's his name that played Daredevil on Netflix,
Charlie Cox.
Yeah, he is repeatedly still unavailable because he's refilming scenes, and the rumor's been around that he'll be in not as Daredevil but as Matt Murdock. That he'll be in the Spider-Man movie, which is just everybody seems to agree Tobey Maguire will be in it, and Andrew Garfield will be in it, and all the bad guys from the original movies. So, hey, I have something off topic, if I may.
Oh yeah, is this a Rosner rant?
It is a Rosner. Can we get back? Do we need that many unique chicken sandwiches from every food chain trying to copy what Chick-fil-A's done? Everybody's got okay, look, Chick-fil-A, which I won't eat at anymore, but Chick-fil-A has an excellent chicken sandwich. And Popeyes did a great chicken sandwich that was totally worthy of all the fights that occurred at Popeyes locations. But now everybody's got their own stupid chicken sandwich. Enough already. Get back to giving me a 4-patty burger. That's why I miss the time that I got to spend in California and In-N-Out Burger. It just is what it is. It's just you get your burger your way. It's fantastic. But enough with the chicken sandwiches.
Howard, what do you think about the Wendy's spicy chicken sandwich? Very underrated. Been around for years. It's better than anything Chick-fil-A puts out. It's unbelievable. Very underrated.
Preach, Sal. Preach.
I like it. I like it. I like the spicy nuggets from Wendy's as well. And just Wendy's has never been able to conquer fries. That's the problem.
You're right about that. Horrible fries. Horrible.
Well, with Wendy's, you have to dip them in the
Frosty. I was just going to say that. You dip them in the Frosty.
Yeah.
It's still not the same.
Or that mental patient pill cup that they give you. It's like this deep with the something that Nurse Rations hands you.
Yeah, I mean, Wendy's has just never been able to. To me, it's the same thing as like when I go to a Coney Island and I ask for my fries well done because I want to dip them in the chili. You need to ask them to literally burn them, I think, to get to the point where they're actually crispy. Like I'm like, hey, they're like, these are the well done fries. I'm like,
yeah, Wendy's isn't great with fries. I just wanted to young. This comment came in. Bad depression. Thank you. I love
Welcome to the club.
Welcome to the club. My ENT doctor makes the best.
Yeah, that's just. I mean, like
Jerry is
the best.
I just can't. I can't get it's enough already. Like just.
I tried the Popeyes chicken sandwich. Nobody should have even gotten a paper cut over that sandwich. Okay, it was a fried sandwich. It was
a good sandwich.
You know, there's a lot of good things. I mean, there's steakhouses that have amazing steaks. No one, except for the cow, no one's died. You know what I mean? It's like it's okay to have good food.
Soon about the cow. Come on, that was not nice. Not nice.
I do. If you want to listen to a great routine, if you've never listened to it, Patton Oswalt's 2 bits about KFC are fantastic.
So great. Failure pile and a shame bowl. I think.
a sadness bowl. Yeah,
a sadness bowl.
Yeah. But then let's take a pause. Let's give the people what they came for.
Yeah.
Let's do a show. Let's start with Fatherhood by Kevin Hart. I can speak for Zach. I know he doesn't like this, but Sal,
he hates Kevin Hart.
He doesn't like Kevin Hart, but Sal,
I don't like Kevin Hart either.
Yeah, no problem. I remember Zach's review of this, and I'm a huge Kevin Hart fan. I've always been. If you've never read his book, it's unbelievable. The guy persevered for so many years in New York as a stand-up comic. So everything he's done, he deserves. This movie is a a little something different than he normally has done. He's a little bit of a serious father here. And Hannibal just woke up, Bob. But anyway, it's based off. It's a comedy drama, and it's based off of a 2011 memoir called "Two Kisses for Maddie" by a gentleman by the name of Matthew Loughlin. So Kevin Hart plays Matthew Loughlin because this is his life story. And it's a very sad start. His wife gives birth to their new daughter, Maddie, and she dies during the C-section, which is very sad. And Kevin Hart has to play a grieving dad, which he did a pretty good job of it. I will say this, again, I'm not trying to make light of this, but I watched this movie because stand-up comics aren't actors, they're not Juilliard actors. So I always am amazed if they can cry and that kind of thing. And he does cry in the scene where his wife dies, and he does a good job. But there is a scene where he cries, and I think the director was probably like, all right, he's not having a good day doing this crying scene, because he does a crying scene with his hands over his face, completely over his face, which that must have been like the director going, okay, this isn't working today. Just put your hands over your face and cry. But other than that, it's a lighthearted movie. It's kind of got that. I thought there could have been more jokes in it. He's obviously raising this daughter as a single dad. Paul Reiser plays his boss. He works at a tech company, and Paul Reiser plays his boss, stand-up comedian. Want to shout out to the stand-up comics in the movie. He does a pretty good job as his boss. Doesn't have a big role in it. And his daughter is played by Melody Hurd. His daughter's probably 8 years old in this movie. She does a fantastic job. And Melody Hurd is her name. She's 8 years old. I mean, and then kind of interesting, his wife that dies is named Lizzie, and he meets a girl in the movie named Lizzie. I wonder if I want to read the memoir to see if that's a true actual fact, because that's kind of strange. But anyway, it's a movie. You can already tell what it's like. It's a movie of Kevin Hart raising his daughter by himself with a little bit of help from his in-laws and stuff. There's some really cool scenes in it, some very funny scenes, really lighthearted scenes where you kind of get a little bit emotional. I thought there should have been a little bit more jokes in it. You can kind of see where the movie's going the whole way through. I thought there could have been a lot more jokes in there. I mean, obviously you got a comedian in there. But I liked the movie. I really did. I know Zach didn't like it. I kind of liked it. I enjoyed it. I love Kevin Hart, so that's, I might be biased on this. But I thought he did a pretty good job. Now this movie was supposed to come out in theaters during the pandemic. It was supposed to come out in April of 2020 in the theaters. So I don't know how well it would have done in theaters. Probably pretty well, because Kevin Hart's a big deal. But because of the pandemic, it had to be released on Netflix. So a little bit of a different distribution. And I want to bring something up. Kevin Hart. Anyway, I give it 4 tomato sauce jars, Jeff. But I want to bring something up that maybe the other guys on the show can talk about. But it's playing against type. Now, what Kevin Hart did in this movie is he played against his regular kind of comedic roles. And there's been some other very famous players against type famous roles. Now, if some of you guys on the panel today can think of some at the top of your head, please chime in. But me and Bob were talking about some during our podcast. Obviously, there's been some really good ones, like Adam Sandler, obviously one of the most famous ones that he's been done. Bryan Cranston's probably one of the biggest ones. He was on Malcolm in the Middle for many, many years, and then he goes and does this Breaking Bad. So a lot of directors and writers and stuff take chances on these actors playing against their type. Obviously, one of the most famous ones, Michael Mann, Matt Damon in the Bourne Identity movies. Tim Burton cast Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne, Batman, in the dark action drama Batman. So that might be a playing against the type. So anyway, any ones that you guys can think of off the top of your head.
Robin Williams, Good Will Hunting.
That's what I was going to say too.
Oh yeah, he's listed on this. I've got this list.
Oh, I didn't want to cut you off because I knew you probably
get
to
no. I'm glad. This is for discussion. I think it's an interesting subject.
Yeah,
and this is some of the famous ones that you guys.
Jim Carrey.
Robin Williams was classically trained, though. I mean, he was. You mentioned Juilliard trained. I mean,
yeah,
Robin Williams did go to Juilliard.
I believe today's his 70th. Would have been his 70th.
It is, yeah. I mean, he was a comedian, though. Like, he definitely was an actor, but he got his start as a comedian. I mean, everyone knew him as a stand-up. And then Mork and Mindy. Have you guys ever watched Mork and Mindy? Those old episodes? They're actually, like, very funny in their own way. Like, I came across them years ago, but, like, they're legit.
The episodes that were even funnier were the episodes the last couple of seasons with him and Jonathan Winters basically just ad-libbing the entire the entire scenes that they were in together. Those were remarkable ad-libs that they did. So
Leslie Nielsen, another obviously big one. He went into kind of comedy later on in his career, and he actually preferred that. He said. Just something I wanted to bring up.
John Candy and JFK.
There yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Although that was a funny role.
Yeah.
I know. It was serious.
But anyway, just all in all, I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was a great Netflix movie. I'm kind of glad it didn't come out in theaters. It was a good Netflix movie. His brother is kind of the funny one in this movie. I thought that was kind of strange. Kevin Hart is the comedian, but his brother plays like the funny guy in the movie. Kevin Hart really doesn't tell a lot of jokes, or he's not very funny in this movie. He's very serious. Anyway, interesting watch. I liked it. I thought it was a good movie. So
I have a question for you, Sal. Do you feel there were enough jokes in the movie?
There was not enough jokes in the movie. I thought they could have put more jokes in there. I mean, he had some funny back and forth with his daughter, like just getting her ready for school or something like that. But I mean, I thought, like, what was the movie with that? Off the top of my head, you guys are better. That Adam Sandler when he played.
The Gems one.
Yeah, I thought that was
Big Daddy.
Beautiful.
Big Daddy, that's the one. That was so funny. It was very funny. It had a lot of jokes in it. That was not this. So
Scuba Steve.
Big Daddy is definitely one of the best Adam Sandler movies.
It really is.
The one that don't laugh at me, but my favorite Adam Sandler movie is Waterboy. I mean, I can watch him hit those people on the football field and never not laugh as loud as the first time. It is so funny. So Jim Carrey
is a big recurring phrase around this household.
Yeah, Jim Carrey too. Howard? Jim Carrey
says
Against Type. Jim Carrey and Truman Show, and then the Spotless Mind movie he did. I think comedians, when they do drama, are better than when they're funny. Like any Robin Williams role we talk about was not one of the ones where he was funny. I mean, sans Mork maybe. But
can I give one more Against Type? This is two people in the same movie playing completely against type. It was Mr. Smith. It was Kevin Costner playing a serial killer. It was he did it very well. And Dane Cook played a sort of sycophant copycat who wanted to be like him, and a total POS in this thing. It was kind of a fascinating deal to watch.
I kind of remember that.
I remember
Mr. Smith, right?
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
Early 2000s.
Not to be confused.
Yeah, I think it was probably 2007. It was after Dane Cook hit it big. It was right, while he was riding that rocket. Something like that.
Punch Drunk Love. I think that was the 9/11 one. Was Sandler?
No. Punch Drunk Love was.
Yeah.
What was the 9/11 one?
I think but that was not Punch Drunk Love.
Anyway, okay.
I can't think of it.
I can't.
We'll think of it later when you wake up in the middle of the night. Text us. All right. Well, let's do another show. Let's move on. We got a cool one from our guest. John is going to go over Glitch in the Matrix, which seems interesting. So I want to hear all about it.
So the key word there, Jeff, was seems, right? So I don't know, like for our audience out there. So simulation theory is basically like we are all basically in a video game by some higher beings, right? And the basic kind of premise behind it is, if you look at kind of how we've developed video games as a culture, you know, or as a society, you know, going back to when we played video games, Atari and all that, to now where everything looks so realistic, the theory is that we can't think that we're the first people to have created sort of this alternate reality. So a glitch in the Matrix basically tries to explore, like, you know, is this all a simulation, right? So it's like a great idea because there's actually like math that supports this theory. Elon Musk is like a big proponent of this. So the director is Rodney Asher. I think I'm saying his name right. So he's the guy who was behind the documentary Room 237. I don't know if anybody's seen it. I haven't seen it, so I don't know much about it. But basically, it's a look at The Shining. And The Shining, the theory is that the moon landing was faked. And The Shining gives us all these clues because they say Stanley Kubrick basically directed the fake moon landing. And within The Shining, there's all these clues. Room 237, the moon is 237,000 miles, 100,000 miles away from Earth. The kid wears like a big rocket ship. So whatever. This is the guy behind that documentary. So the documentary is interesting, right? But like, it's just not done well. Like, I wanted a really good documentary that like dove deep into this. And the people they asked are basically like regular old people. Like he interviews these three people who are like, dude, I swear this is this is not real. And that they have no real evidence or anything. They're not like and they have avatars that they're talking in. So you don't even see their face. Like one guy looks like Lionel from Thundercats with armor on. And like, that's his like persona that he is online. He's like, and he just talks about like when he was younger, this happened and then that happened. And then one of them's like, you know, I'd think of a goldfish and then I'd walk around the street and I'd see a restaurant with a goldfish on the sign. And it's like very like kind of whatever. And then they have clips of this guy, Philip Dick. I had to write his name down. He's a sci-fi author from the 70s who was one of these guys who talked about simulation theory. So if you're like into kind of crackpot theory stuff, like you might like this, honestly. But like how this guy went about getting the people to talk, like if he had like if he interviewed like you know, physicists and stuff like that who like literally broke it down for you and were like, well, here's the math behind it, here's why it could be, but it's not that at all. And then sort of cut throughout the documentary is this interview with this guy who saw the Matrix, basically, and this is where the kind of the Matrix comes in. And this guy became obsessed with the Matrix. And you never see this guy's face because it's a phone interview. And it starts basically leading down this path where like this guy, first of all, he says he went to Hot Topic, which it was like he didn't realize that was a joke because this is 2003. He went to Hot Topic and bought a trench coat. But the worst part is this guy's like, so I thought I was in the Matrix. He thinks he's in the Matrix. And like the end of the movie is basically he murders his parents with a shotgun. So it's like, I wish I could come in hot here and be like, oh, it's a goofy movie, kind of like, but it's this like darker tone with like mass shootings and people who think they're in video games. Anyways, I guess like the big rounder picture of this thing is this documentary could have been a lot better than what it was. But ultimately, it's like all over the place. And it's like kind of amusing to watch, but like I honestly wouldn't even recommend watching it unless you're like super bored. And if you don't have Hulu, don't even bother.
We all
interesting, literally interesting. Like I thought about it the next day, but like it wasn't done well enough for me to recommend it for somebody to come in and be like, oh, you got to see this movie about simulation theory. This guy breaks it down. It's really good and stuff like that. It's so all over the place and so like ridiculous with like the avatars and everything that it's like, I can't even recommend it. But I had to come in here and talk about it because it was so weird and like. So I don't know.
It's funny.
Has anybody seen Room 237? Have any of you guys seen that?
I've seen the previews for it, but I never actually watched it. When you said Philip K. Dick?
Yeah, Philip K. Dick, the sci-fi writer.
Right. So he's just so everyone the films based on his works include Blade Runner, Total Recall, Minority Report, The Scanner Darkly, The Adjustment Bureau, The Man in the High Castle, which is that show on Amazon about if the Nazis had taken over, and so he's the first science fiction writer included in the Library of America series.
So basically, there's a lot of clips of him giving this speech, this really weird speech at the time, to this French media, and he's like. Talks about this dream he had basically where he's like, none of this is real. And he's like, everyone's like, this guy is crazy. And like, that is actually compelling his speech or like the way it's done, the way they sort of bring his voice in and they have the video of him doing it. That stuff is actually like, if they had gone more into that and actually gotten like legitimate scientists involved and not these like, I don't even know where they're like in a basement somewhere with like laundry in the background. And they're like, so anyways, what happened, ever since I've been young, I've always thought things were weird. So, and it's like, had you gone more towards the Philip K. Dick stuff and like what he was saying? Cause like, it's almost like he breaks in this speech and it's like, he has like a moment of clarity where he's like, I saw something. I legitimately saw something. And he's like trying to convince people, but you know, this is literally back in the 70s. So everyone was just like, you know, you're a quack. Whereas if that happens today, you know, people might have been a little more whatever, but
today there's a religion. You'd get a religion.
Today there's Reddit too.
So I think what you're trying to say is you didn't like that you spent the time watching this.
But no, did he spend the time watching it?
Do you like jokes, John?
And honestly,
I'm saying if you like a lot of jokes, also stay away
and if
from.
Kevin Hart was in it, would have been good. I'm kidding, Sal. We're friends.
What state are you in, John?
Huh?
What state are you
Massachusetts.
in? Oh, okay.
You're
a Tom Brady fan?
No, cousin.
No, I've never liked Brady. I think he's a great football player. I just think he's a nerd and like he thinks he's awesome and he's like, look at me, buy my products, buy my $10 nuts. I'm the greatest TB12. Look at me, look at me, look at me. I hate all that.
He has 7
Have a beer,
Super
why
Bowls.
don't you, pal?
He has 7 Super Bowls. Why are people still saying, "No, I don't think he's that great"? Yeah, it's 7 Super
Bowls. No, he's a great football player, wonderful and everything. I just don't like his personality. Like, I don't like how we have to like, you know, buy his $75 cookbook to learn how to live like Tom Brady.
Very good point.
You can marry Giselle.
Giselle sold a book. $800 of pictures of her. Can you imagine? Hey, buy this book. $800, just pictures of me. Can you imagine
the weirdest thing about it is
you must have do that.
Brady with it. The weirdest thing is Brady with his shirt off looks like my 4-year-old grandson.
Right.
It's like, dude, lift a weight. What is it with you?
No, it's pliability or whatever. Avocado ice cream. I'm sick of it. Get out of here, Tom. Go down to Tampa.
Point taken, man.
I'd rather lose than have to look at you every week, Tom.
Oh, God,
well, we live in Detroit. We know.
Oh, by the way, Reign Over Me is the 9/11 movie.
There you go.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Thank you, Jerry. Cool. All right. Well, that was good so far. Yeah. So if
hey, by the way, and I'm sure Zach, it'll still be this way moving forward. But I think I got a brief glimpse of the Netflix top 10 today. And if I'm not mistaken, they must have just released all of the Twilight movies because like 5 of the top 10 were Twilight movies.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
Movies or the shows?
No, the movies. All the movies.
Shows.
Not the Twilight Zone. All right, let's do a quick difference between Twilight movies and The Twilight Zone, the TV show.
I'd rather watch Twilight Zone, to be honest with you.
Me too.
But you do understand they're two different things.
Totally. But why couldn't the other Twilight Zone be in the top 10? Why?
Wait. When they echo like that, it sounds like they're in the Twilight.
What happened here? Okay, I lost sound there for a minute.
Actually, I'm a huge fan of the Twilight Zone. This has nothing to do with anything. I'm reading this book. It's by Rod Serling's daughter, called As I Knew Him. I just picked it up because I wanted to learn more about it because he was one of my favorite people.
He's from Binghamton, New York, where I'm from. Rod Sterling's from Binghamton, New York, by the way.
Nice. By the way, in the world of streaming, I have to say that after rewatching the preview for Many Saints of Newark, the Sopranos prequel, my wife decided to rewatch the entire Sopranos series.
Nice.
And she and I watched the entire series over the last week.
Wow.
It was so extraordinary.
And let me ask
never saw an episode.
Oh,
is that a brag?
Are you bragging?
No, it's not. I just missed it.
It's
you can
HBO
still watch
Max.
it.
It's
I tell you that
exceptional.
The Sopranos, I think to watch it now would be better than watching it then. And I'm guessing if you watched it, you wouldn't have a problem with the ending. I'm guessing Rosner in a rewatch probably didn't have a problem with the ending. I know, but
I was still annoyed by the ending.
That's because you've been bred to believe that.
No, and the David Chase interview from a couple years ago that he did, didn't help anything. But all of that aside, it's so good.
Well, I love it. And the reason Bobby should jump in is because here's the thing I remember most about The Sopranos. Sometimes there were 2 years between seasons. Like there were times where I didn't even remember the show was still an active show.
Right.
And so I don't know about you, but Netflix used to never do recaps or anything. Like when all this time passes, you don't remember like all these shows.
Right. Yeah.
So much time would pass with The Sopranos. It was hard to watch. So I think like now to watch it and where you just kind of go through it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Would be great.
And because of that, you make that point, Jeff. Two of the characters who are only in part of the series, his mother, and Big Pussy, who's like I remembered them being gone after like the first season or early in the second season. And they weren't. They were so much longer into the series, but it just seemed the series was stretched out over such a long period of time for only 6 seasons. Really, it was 7, like 2 mini seasons. 6A and 6B were the final season. But that 6 seasons took like 12 years.
Yeah,
it was so long.
I want to say something about that character. Isn't it amazing? I know it's HBO. His name was Big Pussy, and it's just so funny how we can just say Big Pussy because it's a character name, right? But what was the show? It was like in the 80s where that character guy's name was Boner. What show was that? How did that happen?
Head of the class? What was that? No, that was like
Growing Pains?
His name was
Family
Boner.
Ties? Family Ties?
Family Ties. No.
Was it Growing Pains?
It was Growing Pains. It was
So
Richard Boner Stabone.
Yeah, how does that happen? How did that happen? How did the producer?
Best friend to Kirk Cameron's character Mike Seaver in the first 4 seasons.
How did that happen? How did the producer say, "Yeah, no problem. Let's call him Boner. This will be. That's fine. That's fine. Nobody. Anyway, I just want to bring that.
It was a different time, Sal.
Well, I guess since we brought him up, we should also pay tribute to him because as I was quickly Googling him, apparently he passed away in February of 2010. And this is the headline. And I regret starting the conversation saying he died and then about to say, here's the headline. But literally, this is the headline. I'm not. Boner found dead in Canada.
Of course.
Boner went limp.
I mean, this could also be a whole article about them getting rid of all the prostitutes.
Jesus.
No, but he died. I don't know how. I can't read it right now, but somebody knows you can. But yeah, he passed away in 2010.
Boner was lost, is what you're saying.
Yeah, we lost a boner in 2010.
Story of my life.
Yeah. It was about a year before my divorce.
50% of the time.
Jokes never get old, folks.
Yeah, they never get old. All right. Speaking of never getting old, let's switch over to Bob. He's got a really interesting one on unsolved mysteries, but a very specific unsolved mysteries. Take us through it, Bob.
Yeah. Okay. So we have some youngsters here tonight. Our guest may not remember the Robert Stack unsolved mysteries.
Yeah.
But they were a different sort of series than what is happening now on Netflix. This is in season 2, and I think season 3 is coming up in the next couple of months. But in the first series, where Robert Stack was the narrator and he would appear on camera and looking very severe, and if you have any information, call this number, that kind of thing. This is all voiceover. And there's a lot more subtlety going on here. And by the way, both seasons of this Unsolved Mysteries owes at least half of their success to affordable drones, because literally half the shots are just drone shots, of forests and parking lots, and it's just hilarious, how much they're using this now. But this particular show in season 2, this was about a woman who, according to her last recorded name was Jennifer Fairgate. And this was a young woman who was probably in her mid-30s, who checked into the Oslo Plaza Hotel in 1995. And I don't often go for these kinds of shows because I think they add a lot of hyperbole and a lot of what ifs and blah, blah, blah. But this one really stuck to the facts, just the things they knew about this young woman. And she was attractive, she was mysterious right from the beginning. She checked into the hotel in 1995 without presenting a credit card. Okay, and this was all found out later as they did this investigation. She had gotten herself a hotel room and checked in without leaving anything but her name with the desk. No credit card, no license, no photo, no nothing. So somebody had bought whatever story she had told so she could check into this room, okay? So she was there, I believe, for a couple of days. And then one of the managers realized that they'd not gotten a credit card from her, and they didn't have any way to get payment. So they actually went to her room. Somebody was knocking on the door. At the same time, a shot rang out in that room, a single shot. And I think it was the manager or the assistant manager, someone like that. They got scared, and instead of going out away from the room and to see who would come out of the room, they got in the elevator and went downstairs. Now there was a 15-minute. Don't ask me how this time gap came about, but there was a 15-minute gap between the time that shot rang out and police showed up at this young woman's room. They got inside. And whoever, I'm not going to say whoever had caused that shot because there was it had left, but there was an initial theory that this Jennifer Fairgate, who was dressed impeccably in sort of a black skirt, black heels, black hose, a black top. She was lying on her bed, on her back. There was a single bullet from her gun that had gone through her head. And her hand had then dropped. I don't know. Are you hearing this other audio going on here?
No.
I'm sorry about that. Okay. I've got some notes that are coming into me. Anyway, so at first blush, it appeared that she had taken her own life. because nothing had been disturbed in the room. The bed hadn't even been slept in. This young lady who was back on the bed was in peaceful repose, or so they said, but with a bullet through her brain. So the show brought out the fact that there was, it appeared to be an open and shut case of suicide. However, as they started looking deeper into this, they found out that all her clothes had the tags, the brand names, cut off. There was nothing about sizes. There was nothing about brand names. There was nothing to tie her to where she might have purchased these clothes, not on any article that she had been wearing. Nor was there any other identifying. Sal? Yeah? Okay. So I thought you were waving at me. Anyway, so there was no other identifying characteristic of this woman, who she was, why she was there. And so initially they had ruled this as suicide. So now again, this took place in 1995, and this is now 2021. So we have 26 years that have passed between this young lady committing suicide, and there is still no answers as to who she was. No name, no reason for her being there, no next of kin, nothing. And I Googled it. I saw this episode of Unsolved Mysteries back during the first lockdown of the pandemic. So what is it, like 15 months ago? So I Google this every now and again to see if there's any updates, and there are no updates, except they did, Unsolved Mysteries did a sort of update a couple of months after this aired back like last April. And they said that they had brought some forensic experts on to look at the photos of the room, look at the photos of the body, to look at the circumstances of her death, not just, the physical evidence of her lying there and the clothes she wearing, but how she got into the hotel without a credit card, without leaving a name. It was clearly intentional. No license, no photos of her were available at all, except those that the coroner took of her lying dead on this bed. So some of the theories that have come about since then is that she was, and the most, I'm not going to go through all of them because we don't have time, but the most, I want to say the most cogent theory, the most believable theory is that she was an agent for some spy agency. And they don't know exactly which agency. It could have been Mossad. It could have been, they ruled out CIA. It could have been MI6. It could have been a number of other European spy agencies. But the reason they kind of focused on that is that investigators had gone out through Norway and throughout other places in Europe that her name had given some clue as to where she might have grown up. Jennifer Fairgate was an alias. It was an assumed name. It wasn't real. But they did track a couple of Fairgates down in the neighboring countries, and they found out that that she might have gone to school in some area. But nobody, upon being shown a photograph of her, would ever claim that they knew her. There has been zero family claim. Nobody claimed her body, for example. Nobody in 26 years has claimed to have known her at any level, either as a friend, a classmate, a family member, a colleague, nothing whatsoever. So the last word that came on this was a few months after the original episode aired, and it was that there was a couple of retired spooks. One was CIA, and I think another was from might have been MI6. I forget, but anyway. One of the guys had come to the conclusion in his mind that she was definitely an agent, and she was on a mission, and she had been assassinated. And the reason that nobody had claimed to know her is, according to this agent, that it's common practice in these instances where it gets out into the news and they don't want anybody to know it. They know who the family members are. The agency knows who's died, and then they know who these, and they go to that member's family and say, hey, your daughter or son died a hero, and we're going to give each of you $1 million, but you have to sign here, and you can never talk about this again. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the dollar amount was or whatever. So that to me seems the most plausible theory in all of this. But as of yesterday, I checked for an update, and there is nothing about Jennifer Fairgate, an assumed name for this woman who in 2021 should be known by dozens, if not hundreds of people, who should come forward and say, of course I knew her. I went to school with her. I dated her at one time. But literally 26 years later, nothing.
It really is an unsolved mystery.
It really is.
It really is.
It's not just a clever name.
All right, let's move on to our final show, The White Lotus.
Yeah, so this is a new series on HBO and HBO Max. It's created by Mike White, who I didn't realize he plays Ned Schneebly, the roommate and best friend in The School of Rock to Jack Black. I didn't realize he wrote that movie. Wrote the screenplay. He's written a couple other screenplays. So he created this series. It is another series where all the characters are so hateable that it makes the show fascinating. So the cast is great. Jennifer Coolidge is amazing. Jake Lacy, who was Pete in the last season of The Office, has been on some other shows. Connie Britton, who is a superb actress. Steve Zahn, who's awesome. And Alexandra Daddario is great. The opening scene of the show, the first episode, is Jake Lacy sitting at the airport in Maui, waiting to get on a plane back home. And these other people who knew him from the resort asking something. And basically he says that there's a dead body going back on the flight with them. And it's his wife, who they had just finished their honeymoon. So that's the opening scene. And then it goes back 7 days previous to a bunch of these people arriving at the hotel, the White Lotus, on a boat as guests. It's Jake Lacy and Alexandra Daddario as newlyweds. It is this family, Steve Zahn and Connie Britton, husband and wife, with their kids, who their daughter and her daughter's friend are the most obnoxious, privileged, douchey youth you have seen on TV in ages. Jennifer Coolidge, who is crazy and there to scatter her mother's ashes. And then this hotel manager, Jake Lacy, they get put in the wrong suite. He is obsessed over the fact that they're not in the right suite. And then it slowly starts to, everybody seems to have issue with Alexandra Daddario's character. So it's leading to some sort of potential murder mystery. But all these characters have this dark side to them. And it's really intriguing. Again, the characters are so hateable, you can't help but watch. It's like you cringe, but you can't help but watch. It's really good. I'm excited to see where the rest of the season goes. It's really well acted. The two other things that I find amazing, and I'm fascinated, the music is very authentic Hawaiian music that runs throughout the show. So it's really, really, it's really different. It's really different. But then the other thing that makes it absolutely, to me, extremely exciting to watch is it was filmed on location at the Four Seasons Maui, which I was fortunate enough in 2013 to spend a week on a company trip at that resort, and it is unbelievable. So it's kind of really cool to, like the rooms that they're in. I'm like, oh my God, that was exactly like the room that I stayed in. I remember that layout. Or the restaurant. I ate at the restaurant the main restaurant 2-3 times a day, the pools, all those types of things. So it's a beautifully shot show. It's got some really good comic value to it, while it is still kind of unraveling to these points. Jennifer Coolidge is different than you've seen her in a lot of other things and anything else for that matter, but she's great, and she always is. I've always been a big fan of Steve Zahn, so I always find him funny.
I like him too.
Which channel is this on?
It's HBO Max.
Ooh, all right.
Would there be more jokes?
There could be more jokes. It's not a super jokey show, but it definitely does have some funny moments. Alexandra Daddario is stunning, and her character is really intriguing. And then Jake Lacey's character is just out of control. And then just about to pop in is his mother, who's played by Molly Shannon. So she's awesome and excellent at everything as well.
That makes me feel old right there. Yeah. So there's one season of this.
It's in its first season, and it's just a few episodes in so far. Kind of, it's an HBO weekly show. It's not bingeable all at once. So
got it. All right, so we'll check that out. Speaking of shows that are back, Never Have I Ever is back for season 2.
It is. I have been wrapped up in other shows and haven't been able to watch, but Ted Lasso Friday.
I do want to say as a recap, because I Googled, I know we were joking about the actor who played Boner and that he was no longer alive, but I looked him up real quick. His name was Andrew Koenig. If that name sounds familiar, Walter Koenig was his father, who played Chekhov. He took his own life. Boner took his own life. Since we talked about, I just want to put this up. We talked about Robin Williams today. We talked about Boner on Pivots.
Very nicely done, Jeff.
On Pivots, but if you're out there and you need help, you need anything, here's a number you can call. I know it's in the United States. If you're outside of the United States, look elsewhere, but definitely reach out and talk to someone. There's always someone out there for you.
Hey, just as a word of advice to you, Bob, I got a text from my mother-in-law, who as always is watching the show, and she said how lucky Bob is that he has the ability to watch The Sopranos all at once, binge, because you won't be able to stop watching
the next
episode when you start.
Oh, Bob,
I'm gonna do it,
Bob.
I'm gonna do it.
Just start.
It's one of those things. I don't know how I missed it. It was a moment in time that I felt like I'd missed like the first year, and I never would get caught up. So I just didn't watch any of it. But yes, you're right, Howard.
Well, that's your homework, Bob, to catch up. In the meantime, I do want to thank everyone for spending episode 33 with us. It was amazing. Howard, say goodnight.
Good night, Howard.
Our special guest, John Sullivan. Say goodnight, John.
Thank you for having me, guys. I had a lot of fun. Good night.
Sal, say goodnight.
Good night, everybody.
Bob, say goodnight, my friend.
No, I will not.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
All right, and as always, I'm Jeff Dwoskin. And just if you can't get enough Bob and Sal, check out their podcast. Check out the Live from Detroit, the Jeff Dwoskin Show. Zach's not with us today, but he'll be back next week. SomeNobodies.com. Lots of great podcasts for you to check out. Come back. We're here every Wednesday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, crossing more streams. We'll see you then. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Crossing the Streams, brought to you by SceneSnobs.com and part of the Jeff Dwoskin Show. Your hosts, of course, Jeff Dwoskin, Sal D'Amelio, Bob Phillips, Ron Lippett, and Howard Rosner. Follow us all on the socials, and we'll see you next week and every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Mark your calendars. We're going live and crossing more streams.